Calling the Town of St. John Park Board meeting for Tuesday, January 19th, 2021 to order. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we could have roll call, Tyler.
John Boersma,
Here.
Pat Connolly,
Here.
Mike Moffett,
Here.
Mike Bovat,
Here.
Tyler McLeod present, Wayne Pondinas,
Present.
Nicole Bennett,
Present.
Maintenance Foreman Gabe Hernandez also here, and our Clerk Treasurer Beth Hernandez is also here.
Thank you. Item 3, election of officers for calendar year 2021.
I'd like to nominate Mike Bovat as president.
I'll second that motion.
That's a nomination by Mike Moffett, second by John Boersma. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Consideration of nominations for vice president. Any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mike Moffett.
I'll second that.
That's a motion for vice president by Pat Connolly, second by John Boersma. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 4-0.
Item 4 for the park agenda, approval of minutes from the Tuesday, December 15th, 2020 meeting.
So those will have to be deferred. If someone can make a motion, we're still looking for that recording secretary.
Make a motion to defer it. I'll make the motion to defer it until we get the minutes.
I'll second.
That's a motion by, to defer by Mike Moffett, second by Pat Connolly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Item 5, new business. We have a professional services agreement with Westland and Bennett for calendar year 2021. Sorry about that, my mic was off, I'm going to repeat that. Item 5, new business. A professional services agreement with Westland and Bennett for 2021. Ms. Nicole Bennett, like to consider renewing the agreement and keeping her as the park board attorney.
So moved.
Second that.
That's a motion by Mike Moffett, second by John Boersma. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. B, Lake Hills Trail drainage issues. Tyler, if you could speak to that, please.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to bring to the board's attention some drainage issues on the trail at Lake Hills. This is the section that runs between Settlers Court and Whitewater Crossing. Jason, could you, by chance, bring that up on the map? I also have a picture in your packet that kind of shows you part of the issue we're dealing with there. It's been an ongoing issue. The picture is actually an exhibit from the July 23rd, 2019 Park Board meeting. This section of trail has houses on one side and wetlands on the other. But water is collecting and puddling next to and on the bike trail, and silty soils are washing onto the trail as a result. Also included in your packet is a report our town engineer submitted at that time. They recommended installing a swale with an underdrain, and then to go in and repair the cracked and broken areas of the trail if that proved to be successful. I believe the town performed some work in-house at that time, but I don't think any action was taken specifically in regards to this report. So it continues to be an issue. I think I've received calls now from 4 residents along this stretch since I started Actually went out and met two of them with Gabe on my second day here. Bob Davis and I met with a few of the residents 2 weeks ago to discuss the issue and try to come up with a course of action for this year. I think what we're going to do is follow up with the town engineers regarding their report and to get a proposal with some estimated costs on what it would take to fix this. We did target trail maintenance as one of the items for us to look into this year.
Okay. I was kind of curious, is this something, again, maybe that the town actually, utility workers or something, could maybe get some assistance? Is there any, like, in-house opportunities to contend with this?
I'd have to look into that. From what I understand, I think some of the in-house work that's been done in the past, I mean, hasn't really fixed the problem. It seems to be pretty, like some pretty significant work will have to be done.
Okay.
So that's just something to bring to your attention. Like I said, I've been, it's been sort of an ongoing thing for a while now. And I've heard from, like I said, I think 4 separate residents since I started. So it could come up again. I'm thinking it'll come up again sometime this year.
So does this, Haas and Associates, do they give us the estimates, or are they just telling us what we need?
They just, that's just their recommendation. It didn't move past that.
Would they give us an estimate, or do we have to go out with different companies?
I think they probably would, yeah.
You can put it for bid too, right, though? I mean,
So what are you kind of looking for?
No, I just wanted to bring it to your attention so I don't hit you with this, an expensive bid without you even being told about it, so. And I don't know if it would exceed the amount we would have to bid. I don't
That's
know.
what I was gonna ask, is do you have any indication from them of even a ballpark to know? And that may be what you're
Yeah.
going to have to go back to them and just find out of,
Right,
are they over or under that 150 to know if,
yeah,
It
so,
should be
so I think if you read through that report, I think that just addressed, I don't know, a couple 100 feet worth of the trail. I'm concerned that the same thing could be going on in other areas along that section too. So we might have to go through there and I guess get a more detailed report on what maybe some other sections need the same work
at
too.
least to identify, yes, if it's something you want to move forward on just sections, or if it's kind of that ongoing project that also can affect, the course of work and the procedure to be able to get the, kind of what you're looking at on a money
Right.
source. But otherwise, if there's a thought, it sounds like by the extent of it, that unless they can give you something, I would recommend going through, the bid process. Alternatively, you're going to ask for quotes, and as soon as they come in, if they start hitting over that, it's going to void the process and have to go through the bid procedure anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of thinking if there's any options to doing this in-house, maybe explore that first. Really nail that down. If we can get some resources to put to that, at least try. Gabe, could you comment on that or speak to it maybe?
Yes, these trails are the original trails from the Lake Hills Golf Course. So that infrastructure itself is outdated. When they put this neighborhood in, it's my understanding that they raised the elevation for the properties around it, thus creating the flow of water to come onto that bike path. The bike path needs to be redone. This is one of the reasons that Tyler and myself and the previous park board had target that area for like maintenance, because it's beyond just putting some coal patch on it. Like, it needs to be probably elevated, have a crew come in with blacktop and get it done. I mean, maybe we skip the engineers. I mean, because we already have the report from one major section, and we can kind of just follow that report and just maybe go out and get some estimates from actual people who do the actual, like, asphalt,
Yeah.
and see what the cost would be, and then go from there. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're going to have someone lay a new bike trail. So everyone knows that, because there is one section where the bike trail is just pulverized from underneath. So it's just mud. It's just mud pushing up And that's not something you can just put a Band-Aid on. So we have residents that are slipping and falling on ice due to this mud when it freezes. And then in the summertime, of course, they're falling in the mud because their shoes are getting stuck. We've went out there several times last summer. We shoveled the mud off the bike trail, but every time it rains, it comes back. And then even with the shovels, just pushing a shovel with one hand, you begin to peel up some of the asphalt.
So basically, we could just vault all the dirt up.
Basically,
You
it's
don't have
heaving
to-
up from
We don't have to
underneath.
dig drain tiles or nothing like that, right? If it's vaulted up.
You're still gonna have to get the water from the high to the low side.
Correct, but we already have one engineering report saying how to deal with that. And since we already know,
To do that with the different
since
areas.
we already know, well, this is basically like on one side. So it's on the same side, but in different sections. So we kind of have an idea based on the same elevation. Everything's coming down the same. So it's my belief that if you went down another 50 yards with the same slope, you're going to get the same kind of report that we already paid for. So we kind of know where we're at with it. So maybe just get some takes from guys who do asphalt. Maybe if we raised it, maybe a swale or something like they said, a swale, some pipes underneath it. I think that could do it. But again, I mean, it's always free to get like an estimate rather than reach out to the engineers, as we
Right.
know, and then
I agree.
exceed
You're
our
gonna pay for
costs.
something they already have.
Right. I mean, we can do that first, and if they don't feel confident, if we get feedback from these people that give us quotes that they don't feel confident without more reporting, then we can hit up the engineers, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say get the bids
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
That'd be the first.
Yeah, see what they say. I mean, especially
Well-
if there's no charge or anything, this gives you
estimates.
estimates on what's going on, ballpark figure.
I mean, but like, without a doubt, like, we targeted these trails to be fixed because they're in such bad repair. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
It's
especially
just-
if it's a safety issue.
It
needs
is
to
the
be-
original, again, this is the original golf course trail that was put in, so they built a neighborhood around that, so they didn't add on to it, so this is the original bike path going back for, I don't know like how many years it's been in
Cart
there,
path,
but.
right?
Actually, I turned the contours on the map so you can take a look at the slope in the backyards. You can see that they are pretty steep.
Oh, that's fancy
But
shit.
it's feeding it, yeah. It's flowing in there.
Yeah, it's slow,
This whole
right?
It's good for sledding, let's say it that way.
and let's see.
Okay.
And this is from 1998.
Would you happen to know when the golf course was put in, Jason?
Starting around 2005.
That's-
Oh,
that's
The actual golf
I'm
course.
sorry, I don't know the
Subdivision.
golf course.
The golf course has been there forever.
Well, those are the original golf cart paths in there.
All right.
So we inherited old paths, we built around them.
Well, as you can see from the aerial, this is from 1978.
Well, here's your answer.
There's no path there at this
Okay.
point. And then in 1998, I don't really see a,
Well,
yeah, I don't see anything that is a trail or anything like that. I do see some remnants of a golf course, but I don't see a path in 98. And then 2005 is when it looks like they started construction of the subdivision.
Okay.
Well, that sounds good then, Gabe, if you can, explore and just get some estimates, and then we can pursue that first,
Okay.
see what the thoughts are. Appreciate that. Any other comments on the Lake Hills Trails drainage?
No, I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
Thank you for that.
It needs to be done.
C, the skate park.
Yeah, so that's another project that's currently under consideration. Wayne and I met with a representative from Spawn Ranch, which is an LA-based skate park design and build firm. This is actually the firm that worked on the skate park projects in Hammond and Highland. I'll pass around their brochure here for the group to look at. But yeah, we met with them to introduce ourselves, let them know this is a project that's on our radar. We drove around to look at a few of our parks and potential sites. They actually have a site selection guide, which is a comprehensive guide that rates sites based on various factors. visibility, accessibility, barriers, et cetera. We might be kind of limited, though, to where we want to do this. I think we came out of the meeting determining maybe the gates was could be our only option. But yeah, what they will do is provide a tentative design and layout options just to give us an idea about the type of imprint that the park would have on that site. And then once a site is determined, we would then move forward with the process. And that would be a pretty extensive process. We could schedule meetings to get feedback from the community regarding the design. Everything I've read says it's good to have a skate park that complements the other parks in the area. Because this crowd, they like to go around and hit up several of them in the same trip, so you don't want the same thing that another town is doing next to you. And I did contact a gentleman that oversees a nonprofit that helps assist communities in the region with these type of projects. And, he's very connected to the skating community, so he's excited to get involved should we decide to move forward with this.
10 years ago, I came to a meeting, and I brought it up back then. I've been a fan of the skate parks. It keeps kids busy, occupied, out of trouble. I'm a huge fan of it. I'd say it's, yeah, hello?
Okay. Closer, please.
So, I'm all for it. I mean, location, the gates, we've talked about it before, and yeah, I mean, I know it's not a necessity to pick the location right at this moment, but I think the gates would be our only option, but I'm a big fan of the skate parks. One question I have, though, is what kind of liability is that? You got kids coming there. Is there a special liability that you need for skate parks at all? Does anybody know?
I'm not aware of if there's a special liability, but, I mean, that's something I'd find out if that's the case. I've never heard of such a thing, but I haven't looked
Yeah.
into it either. What I can tell you is that it would,
I'm sorry.
I'm on. Yeah.
Usually they're really
Is that
loud.
picking me up?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Test, 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 test.
Can you hear me? Any better?
Can you hear me now?
One more time?
Can you hear me any better?
No.
My light's on.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, test.
What number is that?
3? Okay.
Oh, yeah, much better.
Okay. What I can tell you is that it would fall, I can even hear myself now. It would fall under the same standard as any other public property, any other park property, anything of that nature, so that obviously that it's in the condition, that there's not any, risk or something that is not upkeep, care. Obviously, if the surface, is intact, follows what are the guidelines for those, and that's maintained and kept up. Your biggest situation is, just as in any park, is, the open hole, the open, unmarked potholes, things of that nature that are going to cause any type of injury. So as long under the typical standard, as long as the maintenance is held up, then the town is not going to have any additional liability than what they would in any other capacity. As I said, if there's something additional to that, I can look into that and see. Off the top, I'm not
Yeah,
aware of something,
very
but
curious about it, yeah.
I can't imagine it would be any higher if there's any other rider, and I defer to Beth on that one, than a pool. The community pools are always the greatest when it comes to any liability because of the inherent
Right.
risk of that, with the swimming and all that. So if there is any type of a rider to any policy, I mean, obviously with self-insurance, it is what it is. But if there is anything else that's purchased or, added on in that respect, I'd have to believe it's not going to be to that extent.
I've got a couple questions about, with your experiences, has a skate park ever had sponsors to fund some of it, maybe even some of the maintenance throughout the year? Or has there been like yearly passes that kids can purchase for the skate park? Has that ever came into play anywhere?
I mean, the ones that I've seen are always sort of open and free for
Okay.
public use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah, it would be, I think, kind of a challenge to staff something like that, and
Yeah, but I think sponsorship is a great idea as well.
Yeah.
sure.
Because if somebody wants to put their name on it, you know, I think that would help.
A little placard.
Yeah,
and
right, whatever.
That would cover some maintenance throughout the year, maybe for the sponsor fees.
If
And
they want a big fund it, we can put their name on the bottom of one of the ramps or something, you know,
yeah,
if they want to come up with some bucks.
be a good idea to do. I mean, who wouldn't want their name on it,
Right.
you know? And
So I think it's a great idea.
what's our steps with this? Like,
Well, I think we would kind of review the information that this group sends us next, and then, decide if we want to move forward with it, and then I believe then it would be put out to bid.
Yeah, that clearly I have to assume would reach that threshold. This organization too may be able to give you a lot of insight as to what they've done in other places, such as donations and things of that nature that have assisted with funding, if this is what they're kind of going around and supporting.
So do we need a motion to move forward on this?
I don't think any action has to be taken now, but
I'm making a motion to do it.
I'll second.
one thing I will mention is I know that skate parks tend to have a stigma that maybe it attracts vandalism or negative behavior. In my experience, the actual skaters aren't the ones up to no good. It's kids that are there
Right.
to do other things. The skaters will take ownership of the facility, will help maintain it, will keep us plugged in if there's bad stuff going on. But I just wanted to mention that because there is that stigma out there regarding these.
Yeah.
So can we maybe, like for a target date, like the next step then would be to have a public forum, is that what you're saying? Or, I think, because this is on our agenda, and this was something that we earmarked from last year that we wanted to get moved forward, was the skate park. So our next step would be,
I think we are kind of moving forward with it because now we have a company. Now he's going to start getting some designs and stuff. I think once we get to a point where we have to decide, are we going to do this? Are we going to spend money on this? I think
Right.
that would be more of a crunch time, but we're still in the very early
Yeah,
phases.
I think whatever firm we end up hiring will help guide us through that process. They'll help lead a lot of those meetings. They'll be in attendance. I'm guessing we'll probably have to have some study sessions because there'll be a lot to figure out.
okay.
Jason, is there any way you could pull up that area
In the meantime,
in the gates?
Mr. President, I have two questions. I lost one, but I'll ask the second one. Tyler, do you have, maybe the board, do you have a rough estimate of what the skate parks are? Like Hammond, I know, did a top-of-the-line skate park. I think they mentioned it's the largest right now in Northwest Indiana. So didn't they say they spent roughly 500,000?
I think that was the ballpark number.
Really?
Just so the board has some idea of what the skate park would
Wow.
possibly run. Crown Point, aren't they currently, they're in the process,
They're in the process, yeah.
and they're at about the same price?
I think so. Yeah, I had told them that 10,000 square feet was the number I had given them. I think that's what Highland has. I'm not sure how much theirs was, but something in that range. And I'm also looking into potential grant opportunities for them as well. So,
I know my second question may be more for Nicole, but so how does that work if you have this company that comes out and sort of designs it, looks at the space, but then they also may want to bid on it? I would hate to see them get into a spot where they're having them kind of draft what it looks like and then have them not be able to bid on it
Sure. to be able
because
to
they
do
were
that.
part of the process?
There shouldn't be anything unless they were doing, creating something in their proposal that would exclude others and only allow them, where then there would be some questioning on what the design was. But otherwise, there's not anything in that respect in the design and layout being put forth by the same company who then turns around and bids materials and work and all of that. I don't know, and perhaps Tyler, you do in that sense, that if there's, I can't imagine there's any specialty, if you will,
Right.
to constructing one of these, that one, it's engineering design and, you know, the companies from there. So as long as there isn't something where they're niching themselves only, there shouldn't be an
I
issue.
figured there wouldn't be if you said Highland and Hammond both use this particular, and they had them come out and design the whole thing
I
and
know when they're
then
doing it, it's like, in my ear.
construct it as well.
Yeah, I was going to see, Nicole, are you familiar with Sourcewell?
Heard of them, but not,
So I believe they were involved in the bidding process for those projects, where they sort of oversaw the bidding process for those
they managed
communities.
it specifically in the sense of reviewing the bids, and
I believe so. I'd have to double check.
there
and-
would be your issue. Is if they were one thing to just design it and put it, you know, out there and then come in on the other side, but they're actually in the process of reviewing and determining, you know, who is the most responsive bidder.
Right, I was planning on contacting those departments to see, you know, how they manage that for their projects.
Yeah. And I think that becomes your question too, right? If you're going to the extent of a Hammond, you know, or looking at something on a smaller, you know, less expansive. And part of it may too depend upon even just preliminary information you get on space and requirements of not only the park itself, but also, you know, the areas around that. I do know one of the concerns when Munster had put in their skate park, kind of going against, or in line rather, with some of the things you're talking about regarding public perception, safety, damage, things of that nature, was discussion of it being in an open area. That it's not closed off, it's not niched back into a, you know, a darker or, you know, area off the beaten path, but that it is, especially too, because in all fairness, skate parks are pretty entertaining, you know, for pedestrians and all that, and coming by and watching, you know, what the people are doing. So I do know that that was a discussion as well, was just that it's in a conspicuous area so that it does
Right.
deter, you know, a lot of that activity. So whether or not that also plays into your location and
Sure.
in size and all that to keep those things open.
Right, I think that's a recommendation in the site selection guides I've reviewed, is that
Is
they
it?
want it to be visible, you know. I had, in a previous position, our skate park was kind of hidden, and it was kind of an ongoing issue. So you want
Damage
it,
or graffiti or anything
Sure.
of that nature, as well as, I mean, injury. You know, somebody falls and something happens, that then they're to be seen.
right.
Well, you said that was 10,000 square feet. What's like Hammond and Crown Point? Are they similar or?
I know, yeah, I think that, I can't tell you, I'm not familiar with Crown Points. I think Hammond and Highland are in the same,
Okay, about the same.
same range, yeah.
Well, naturally, we would want to go bigger. I'm just throwing that one out there. I mean,
2001?
I'm kind of being funny, but yet serious, you know, like, let's stand up, you know, and above. And, you know, like you just mentioned, you know, Hammond has the biggest. Well, I'd like to hear from other towns that, oh, St. John's got the biggest. I mean, we've got a lot of kids in this town too, you know, a lot of upcoming families, so I think it's a great idea. I'm
Right,
excited.
there's no sense of building a small one and then all of a sudden 10 years from now, say, oh, we need a new one. I'm with you.
I agree.
The Mission One Skate Park?
No, I'll sponsor it, yeah. I'd love to. I've been a big fan
Mr.
of-
President, I happened to go out to the Hammond skate park, and I didn't know what I was gonna find. I got lost doing it, because I thought it was somewhere else, but men always don't use GPS, and when we got out there, I started talking to the kids that were out there, and they had nothing but good things to say, and I guess it's like a group, they know where all the parks are. They know about Tinley Park, they know about Hammond, they know about all of that. And they said, you're from St. John and you want to put a park in? We're thinking about it, yeah. There was a kid on a bicycle. I thought he was 16, but when he was leaving, he was in a car. I'm like, oh, I thought he was 14. I said, you're 16. He said, no, I'm 27. And he goes to all the different parks, and he you know, uses his bicycle. He was taking the wheels off, and I mean, the people, the kids get into it. And if you look at what's on the map there, that's what Jason has, that's the gates. And the gates doesn't have anything on that part of the town for people. We have, Heartland Park has got a bunch of stuff in their park with the baseball, softball, concession stand, ice arena. So we thought, when I was with Tyler, that would be a good place. And also, everything was taken into consideration. We went to 3 different parks, but we thought that location was probably the best. And I never knew skating was so popular, but the kids know. They tell you, they go into tournaments, and this kid that I talked to said he's like in competition. And when he was taking his bike apart, I looked at the bike and said, yeah, he's serious. That and if we get to the skate park, I like to see Johnny be the first one on the bike and go into the bowl.
So I was like an inspiring skater. I never did it, but they actually have circuits, local circuits that people get sponsored, and it brings the skaters generates money to them. But also when they have a tournament, if there was like a mini concession stand there, it could generate revenue when they do have these, because they do bounce all over the place and do these tournaments. So there's a way to generate like a little revenue too. They do take it serious. There are people 30 years old still doing it, the skating and the bike. So I think it's a wonderful idea.
Well, I appreciate that, Wayne, because truly, on that section of town, we really need something, and we don't have anything presently. That'd be ideal. That'd be a plus. Any other comments on the skate park? Okay, then we'll move to item 6, old business. Barrier gate at Heartland Park, A.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. That's been installed. Gabe went out there and has stop signs on it as well. So, yeah, I just wanted to follow up that got done.
Thank you for that. Decking, B, decking at Heartland Park, Babe Ruth Field.
Yeah, so there are the 2 quotes that are in your packet for the project. That was a project that we identified for this year, so if the board would like to take action on that, that's something we could do. I don't know if, Mike, if you have any, I mean, it's been discussed at the past couple meetings, but.
Yeah, I think everybody knows we're dealing with. That deck is falling apart. There's caution tape on it now. These are 2 bids I have from people basically in the area. One is from Schilling. They're in town. They're actually a little bit cheaper. The one is McClimate Construction. It's up to you guys if this is what way you want to go. I'd like to recommend Schilling to do it because they're local, right here in town. I mean, they're within a couple blocks of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Then I think there's pictures in there. That's basically the material. There's a post in there too, but that's basically what it is. It's the Trex decking, or the composite, and then the railings are aluminum railings. It won't be wooden railings or aluminum railings. That keeps it obviously from rotting out. It's pretty much once it's built, you don't have to do anything with it.
Well, I know we made a commitment to this, and we have 2 bids. Mike has recommended the Schilling bid. The other one is a little bit higher. Schilling is in town. Like to have a consideration for the Schilling proposal in the amount of $15,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
That was a motion by Mike Moffett, second by Pat Connolly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Okay, that's the decking at Babe Ruth Field. C, Civic Park Tennis Court Restoration.
Just to follow up on that item, we accepted the quote from Sutton Asphalt at the December meeting, and I've contacted them, and we're on their schedule for this spring, so I'll be sure to keep the board updated when we have a better idea about when they'll start.
Okay, thank you for that. Old business, D, maintenance position update.
So we received 9 applicants for the the new maintenance position, and I've scheduled 4 interviews for this coming Friday.
Okay, thank you for that. After the interviews, any idea how long before, maybe getting them on board or thoughts?
I heard that they like to start employees at the beginning of pay periods, if I understand correctly.
I think starting an employee in the middle of a pay period is okay. Promoting an employee, we'd like to happen at the beginning of a pay period.
Okay.
So,
So you're good to go?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Old business, E, park rules.
Just wanted to follow up on that item that we discussed it at the November meeting. I'm working with Nicole on updating our park rules. I put together a rough draft, but it's really not ready to be reviewed yet. But I think I mentioned in November that we have rules that have been published online and in our park guides in the past, and there's really inconsistencies between them. It looks like our section of the town code hasn't been updated in quite some time. So hopefully, that this is something we'll have, for the board to review at one of the upcoming meetings.
Yeah, we need that, truly.
One thing on that, you might have already done it, is maybe get in contact with Chief Flores
Sure.
and get his opinion on some of the stuff. I
Right.
know they've been having some ice fishing stuff going on, and on our webpage, it's kind of downer, but it's kind of like it's spaced weird. So you can't tell if it's saying you can't ice fish, or if it's just saying you can't eat on that lake. It's kind of weird.
Right.
But then again, it's just in the notes. I don't necessarily know if that's, and I know we went over this before, what's a rule, what's a law, what's an ordinance. It's like, I don't know if it's just saying you can't do that, but if they do it, you're just like, okay, get off here,
Yeah, that's a good example of one that's in one place but not in the other, and not in the town code. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll be sure to check with the chief and make sure he's involved in that process.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Old business, F, community garden at Patno Park.
Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up. Yeah, well, I'm working with the committee on finalizing a few details on the project. I've yet to determine what the financial commitment from this board would be. And I will have more of those details for you to review next month. But from what I understand, I think the town is going to cover some of the costs related to the project just to help get it going. But like I said, I should have more details for you next month.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 7, reports and correspondence. Board members, any reports, correspondence, anyone?
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Something that I was interested in earlier in the year, and Tyler had brought it up again to me. But Bass Pro Shops has donated 75 fishing poles and fishing reels to Mission One. And so Tyler had mentioned to me about the Fishing with a Vet, start a program going on in St. John. Obviously, there's details that we need to be worked out, but there's 3 days. How many days a year? 3 days a year that veterans fish for free. Well, that's not good enough in my eyes. So I told him that what we'll do is we will pay for their licenses. So if a vet signs up, anybody can go out there and fish with them. The poles, the reels are all supplied. We also would pay for the vet's license if they applied to sign up for the program, as well as first responders. So I think it's a great thing that they would do, and so we're going to work out logistics. If anybody's got any ideas, shoot them Tyler's way, and we'll talk about it. But I think that'd be something really cool. We could maybe even raise funds to have DNR stock it, up the stocking,
Sure.
So and I think it'd be a good idea. It's believe it or not, it's a lot of stress relief on vets especially when public comes out and says, "Hey, I want to fish with you." It makes them feel cool, So I think it's something we really definitely need to attack and do for sure. So that's all I got.
Thank you for that, Johnny.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to say, I'm pretty sure it's Gabe that's plowing the bike pass. There's a lot of people that are commenting on Facebook about that, complimenting it, saying thanks for doing that. So they can walk their little doggies the way they're saying it and stuff, which is exactly what it's for. People to get out there and walk, the dogs.
Yeah.
So, thank you. And I know that's something you mentioned a year ago, and you actually are doing it, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's definitely Gabe. I'm a novice on the plow. Yeah. I'm glad I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk away. Anybody else? It's going to comment. Johnny, thanks for bringing that up. And I think I speak for everybody here, and in particular the park board. Hey, we appreciate what you do with the veterans, Mission One, sincerely. And anything that we can do to help support our veterans, it's an honor. Thank you for that.
I told Mr. Moffett earlier today that we enrolled and filed with the state. We are now also serving first responders as well as veterans. So it's going to be a slow process to get everything worded, but it's going to be Mission One. It's going to say serving veterans and first responders. So
Excellent.
pretty proud of that one. So it was good. Good step.
Thank you,
Glad that we could be a part of that.
Thank you.
thank you for it.
Staff? Anybody on the staff wanting to say anything? Comments?
I'll say I'm working on setting up some spring programs. It's an interesting time, to set these up. One I wanted to mention specifically is the egg hunt. That's tentatively scheduled for Saturday, March 27th, which is the week before Easter. I say tentatively because restrictions are unfortunately still in place regarding indoor and outdoor gatherings. We'll figure out something, and regardless of what might be in place. I know that significant efforts were made last year, to take Gabe the bunny around to visit residents.
It'd be ideal.
If we have to do something like that again, we'll look into it, but we'll do something.
I appreciate that. Anybody else? Town liaison, town council liaison, Mr. Pondinas?
I agree with Tyler that the bunny coming to the house, if we still got COVID and stuff going on, I think that worked out fine. That was fun seeing the smiles on the kids. Great idea by the clerk's office. And just want to say, last year was productive in the Parks Department, and this year is starting out and doing the same thing. You guys are doing a great job, and everybody appreciates it, the residents and myself. Thank you, and thank you for putting in your volunteering time.
You're welcome. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 8, payment of the bills. I know everybody has a copy of the summary. Like to have consideration for payment of the bills in the amount of $17,536.91.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
Second.
That's a motion by John Boersma, second by Mike Moffett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
This time, any public comment? Okay. With that, the park board is adjourned.